business dialogue with the US Embassy. I am personally delighted to have interacted with Michael and not only interacted with him in English, but interacted with him in Hindi. I'd just like to let this audience know my jaw fell when he started speaking in Hindi. He speaks absolute fluent Hindi, actually purer Hindi than Hindi I speak. Michael, welcome. The two-way business interfaces between the embassy and IACC have helped evolve a shared agenda and a common action plan in many domains. And that is the platform on which Michael has very kindly consented to join us. I also welcome our national president, Mr. Purnachandra Rao, and of course, Dr. Lalit Bhasin. Dr. Lalit Bhasin is the summit chair and the national executive vice president of IACC. And he's a source of great inspiration to all of us. I have personally learned a lot from him. Before we came on, we were talking of the big shoes he leaves behind in multiple roles that he has taken. But the learning from him continues. Thank you very much, sir, for all your learnings that you've given us and being consenting to chair this summit, sir. Let me also welcome every one of you present in the virtual meeting, which is designed to create a new ideations and approaches while addressing the bilateral legal issues. India-US economic and strategic cooperation is a dynamic process, always setting up new challenges and vision. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, the Quad Summit held on March 12th among US, Japan, India, and Australia, has received worldwide attention. The Quad leaders agreed to give a joint statement committed to holding an in-person leaders summit by the end of 2021 and agreed to pursue important agendas through focused working groups. Importantly, the legal summit is taking place close to the heels of the Quad, and that way widening the scope and the canvas of our engagement. Let me briefly sketch the overview of the summit. Dr. Bhasin referred a bit to it. It has four components, as he said, of importance: the labor law reforms, the land law reforms, the dispute solutions, and the CSR policy to practice and new CSR amendment rules 2021. The Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, data showed that during April to September 2020, US has emerged as the second biggest source of FDI, the foreign direct investment into India, after Singapore. India attracted FDI worth USD 7.12 billion from the US. Increasing FDI from the US reflects the strengthening of our economic ties between the two countries. The US was India's top trading partner in 2019-20. Let me just touch in the end, Dr. Bhasin cautioned on the time, on the lesser known fact. The report by Indian Root American Soil 2020 carried out by CII gives state-by-state breakdown of tangible investments made and job created by 155 surveyed Indian companies in all 50 states in the United States. These companies account for over 22 billion investment in the United States. While a lot of investment into India makes the headlines, we rarely talk of the investment made by Indian companies, which have created 125,000 direct jobs in the US. Texas, New Jersey, New York, Florida, and Massachusetts are among the top investment destinations. 77% of Indian companies, as per this survey, plan to make more investments in the United States, and 83% of the companies plan to hire more employees locally in the next 5 years. The survey's company also provided data on CSR, which totaled US dollar 175 million in research and 900 million in CSR in the first part of the fiscal 2020. With that, let me welcome you to the Legal Services Summit, and I hand you over to our National President of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Purnachandra Rao.
Thank you very much. Respected Honorable Chief Justice.
Before our national president, I would like to extend him a very hearty welcome and really appreciate his effort in participating in this legal services summit. Our national president is based in Chennai, but still he has taken Hyderabad, yes. Hyderabad, that is the southern region. He represents, you see, the one of the most important. So welcome to you, sir. And I would be failing in my duty if I don't put on record our appreciation of the great work done by the Secretariat that is headed by Kashish Tyagi and Neelu and Sonia and Tejinder in having put up this, making it possible to have this summit become functional. So over to you, our national president, Mr. Purna Rao.
Thanks, Dr. Bhasin. Honorable Justice, Mr. Mukundakam Sharma, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Executive Vice President, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Raman Roy, Regional President. Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Director, North India Office, US Embassy. Mr. Prashant Kumar, President, the Bar Association of India. Mr. Maneck E Davar, Chairman, Services Export Promotional Council. Mr. Rohit Kochhar, Regional Vice President. Mr. Arun Karna, Regional Vice President. Distinguished guests and dear friends. Good morning. I feel delighted and honored to be part of Legal Services Summit being organized today through virtual platform, and NIC has done a great job in organizing it. On behalf of IACC, I would like to thank all our distinguished panel guests, and we sincerely appreciate that. And our thanks for accepting our request to become chief guest for the summit, and to our Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Mukund Sharma, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, for his gracious presence as chief guest. I would also like to congratulate my peer, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Summit Chair and EVP, IACC, and Mr. Raman Roy, Regional President, IACC NIC, for putting up all the hard work to organize such thought-provoking summit. Let me begin by saying a few words about our organization, IACC Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. The IACC has completed 52 years of existence and been in the center of focus in facilitating smooth exchange of Indo-US bilateral trade views between both the countries. Today, IACC has pan-India presence with around 2,000 members representing cross-section of US and Indian industry. India and US bilateral trade relations have developed into a global strategic partnership based on shared democratic values and increased convergence of interests on bilateral, regional, and global issues. In January 2021, IMF has projected an impressive 11.5% growth rate for India in 2021, making the country the only major economy of the world to register a double-digit growth this year amidst the coronavirus pandemic. While analyzing India and its prospects, IMF also highlighted that the country's economy is on a recovery path helped by positive policy actions and improved investors' confidence. The key areas where it has recommended further reforms, however, include the product market, labor, infrastructure, banking, and the legal system, and of course property rights, which also more or less becomes part of the legal system, and fiscal structural reforms. In that respect, definitely today's summit is going to be a major discussion point. And as India has become a better investment destination and currently ranked as 63rd in the UODB, liberalization and proactive legal system is going to be center of focus towards achieving the vision of USD 5 trillion economy. The demand for India's legal services is growing rapidly with the growing trend of many foreign and multinational companies investing in India, and many Indian companies entering into cross-border transactions with foreign companies. Of course, this has meant that the pressure of the Indian government to open its lucrative legal services market to foreign law firms has mounted. In the past few years, this pressure appears to be increasing with frequent visits by different trade delegations organized by the professional bodies of various Commonwealth countries. The legal services industry is not traditionally viewed as a significant driver of foreign direct investment flows, but perhaps it should be, not for the scale of law firms' capital investment, but for what it represents: open markets. Law firms and lawyers are often at the forefront of mergers and acquisitions, greenfield investments and deal making. Typically, markets with a positive trend of FDI growth also see significant economic activity generated by law firms and lawyers. As a growing number of companies around the globe reconsider their footprint in China and evaluate if and where to reroute global manufacturing supply chains, lawyers play an important role in the planning and execution of these multi-million-dollar decisions. Ensuring that the companies can access their preferred legal counsel is critical in moving investment forward when legal issues arise. As India looks to take advantage of the dynamic liberalizing legal services, could help facilitate and expedite decision making by making it easier for legal advisors to corporate decision makers get to yes on India. Given the global weight of India's economy, it is somewhat of an anomaly that foreign law firms are still excluded from the market. India is one of the few and perhaps the only large economies that continues to prevent foreign investment in the legal service sector. I'm extremely happy that today's summit is going to address some of the pressing challenges set forth in front of a developing economy, which would soon become a developed economy. India is projected to have the largest working population in the world between 22 and 34, with 10 million youth entering the workforce every year. Unleashing the true potential of such a strong workforce demands employment capacity of the industry. Therefore, rigidities and administrative burden in the labor regime were required to be addressed through substantive reforms. The pace of implementation of land reform measures has been slow. The objective of social justice has, however, been achieved to a considerable degree. Land reform has a great role in the rural agrarian economy that is dominated by land and agriculture. New and innovative land reforms measures should be adopted with the new vigor to eradicate rural poverty. Similarly, global integration of business through M&A calls for creating an enhanced dispute resolution framework. With these words, I rest my speech and I look forward to hearing from the thought leaders being present today through virtual platform. Wishing you all of you a fruitful day. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think
Ramanji, over to you for the next speaker.
I think you are muted, Raman.
Sorry, I thought Dr. Bhasin, you were going to do that. Can I request Mr. Prashant Kumar, the president of the Bar Association, to say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. Raman Roy, and thank you very much, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, for having invited me. And I welcome Justice Mukundakam Sharma. You know, you have heard his introduction, but another facet which I know about him was that he was the senior most resource judge for Delhi Judicial Reform Project, which had 3 of my juniors working as domestic resource persons, Samarjit Bedi, Sangeeta and all. So Justice Sharma is someone who has worked on the nut and bolts of justice administration reforms while heading that project from the judicial side. And that's why his presence today is very, very significant when we discuss the way forward in terms of reforms and what is further to be done, because he is the right person to guide us from the judicial side. So apart from that, this is really a summit because in services sector and trade, all organizations heads are present here, from SCPC to Society of Indian Law Firms to IACC. And this summit is very significant because, you know, for India, which is fast developing into an advanced economy, the journey of a developing economy to a developed advanced economy goes from agriculture to manufacturing to services, because most of the advanced economies, the services sector contribution in GDP is very, very significant and slowly outpaces even the contribution of the manufacturing sector. So it is in fitness of things that today we are discussing services sector, so that as India proceeds on its unrelenting march towards becoming an economic powerhouse, having a design how the services are going to expand, take shape, and India becomes one of the leaders in the services sector as well, is of great significance. Friends, all the three topics which we are discussing, from labor reforms to land reforms to dispute resolution, are very critical to this enterprise. Critical in the sense, as I said, the migration from agriculture to manufacturing to services. So as we migrate to manufacture and there are value additions and also innovation in agriculture, land gets freed up. But the regulation regarding land has to be equally progressive. So sometimes what is happening that the legislations and also the manner in which law is implemented lags behind and is not able to keep pace with the real demands and the realities which the economic progress demands. Similar is the facet about labor laws, because ultimately if we are thinking of India becoming a manufacturing hub, these two are most critical. And if the approvals, if the buying the land and setting up a factory, and then the labor issues are of concern to foreign investors, then, you know, this whole enterprise becomes slow and India loses its attractiveness in comparative, very, very globally competitive this market. And so far within Asia, Vietnam and other countries who have been able to address these issues aggressively have been the beneficiaries of the supply chain diversification, if I may say so. The third very critical factor is dispute resolution, which I will say that the capacity of the institutions, whether it is alternate dispute resolution or through the courts, to provide a robust and quick enforcement of contract. Because when new businesses, new investments occur, it is not that we can rule out disputes, though, you know, the job of lawyers is to work out agreements, to work out contracts, and to assist the clients and the investors to see that disputes do not occur. But when they do occur, how the contract is to be enforced, and that is where India's ranking is quite low, even though we have made rapid progress in ease of doing business index, as Mr. Roy had indicated. So that is of very, very critical concern. And I'm glad to tell Michael that just before lockdown, when we stopped having the physical active meetings, one of the last endeavors which the Bar Association of India made was to have a meeting with the representatives of American Arbitration Association who were visiting India. And we are structuring under Bar Association of India dispute resolution institution, where even the physical infrastructure is going to be finished in at the most next 3 months. And we are setting up an institution with collaboration of AAA and others, which can take care of, to and fro investment from India and into India. And with the credentials of Bar Association of India and its past leadership and the kind of legal brains trust we have and the collaboration we have with Society of Indian Law Firms, I think we will be able to make a significant progress in setting up and running an institution which is a world class and is able to not only provide a robust and dispute resolution, but also rise in eminence and credibility. Our way forward has been through collaborations. We are talking to all like-minded institutions. We are not in creating a New Delhi center or India center or something, but a kind of a network where, ultimately how best we can serve the requirements of both domestic and international investors and industry and service providers by providing legal services of dispute resolution. So I think we are starting at a very right moment when economic activity is again, kind of resurfacing and things are moving forward. And if at this time we are able to discuss, sort out, and lay foundation for these critical issues through the debate in the coming sessions and provide our recommendations to the government to move forward, and also to lay down the path for ourselves that how these legislative reforms are to be implemented, we are going to do a real service. And that is what ultimately this whole enterprise is about. So I again thank IACC and all of you for giving me this opportunity. And I think we have to come together to move forward to see to it that both the economic, business and other interests take forward, make rapid strides by utilizing the services, legal services, to ensure that economic progress takes place at a higher trajectory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prashant Kumar. Really appreciate your thoughts and setting some more steps of the way forward. May I now request Mr. Rohit Kochhar, who's the Regional Vice President of IACC NIC and also a founding member and managing partner of Kochhar and Company, to say a few words. Rohit, over to you. You're on mute, Rohit.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Raman. Good morning, Justice Sharma, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, leaders of the IACC, distinguished speakers, guests, friends and colleagues. India and the United States are fascinating countries in so many ways. One is the world's largest democracy, the other, the richest democracy on this planet. One, the financial services capital of the globe, and the other, the offshoring and outsourcing hub. The business relationship between our two nations is truly symbiotic, and our economies are intertwined in so many different ways. Mr. Raman Roy mentioned during his opening remarks that the US continues to be a very prominent investor. In fact, Mr. Roy mentioned that the US is the second largest investor in India. And he made a reference to the 9-month period from April through September 2020 of last year, when the pandemic was really at its peak. If I can bat for the United States and for Michael Rosenthal, and just supplement what Mr. Roy mentioned, it's actually the United States which is still the largest investor, not Singapore, because many US companies, they use Singapore as a regional Asia-Pacific hub to make investments in various countries in this part of the world, including India. So we have the experience of dealing with many clients that establish vehicles and a presence in Singapore, and then route their investments into India through Singapore. So just supplementing, Raman, what you mentioned. The US also remains India's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade exceeding $160 billion in 2019. We all know that last year, Amazon, Facebook, and Google, they bet very big on Indian telecom, e-commerce, and cloud computing. And given the place of prominence that these sectors hold for the future, this is a big boost to the business ties between our respective countries. It's not only tech that America is making a mark in, but also in natural resources. Day before yesterday, when I was reading the press, I was astonished to discover that the US has replaced Saudi Arabia as the second largest oil exporter to India. In fact, relegating Saudi now to fourth position. Speaking about IACC, as Mr. Raman Roy and our national president, Mr. Purnachandra Rao also mentioned, the IACC has always played a pivotal role in supporting this ever-increasing proximity between our two nations. And the initiatives of the leadership and the secretariat really have been commendable. I may not be able to name all of them, but Kashish and Neelu and all the others, well done, and a big pat on your back. Thank you very much for all that you're doing. The IACC provides such an important platform to US companies and their Indian counterparts, not only to foster and strengthen ties, but also to identify and deliberate the most topical and sometimes the most burning issues. Friends, the Legal Services Summit of today is so relevant, as no business and investment can succeed, be it domestic or international, without proper legal counsel, both within the courtroom and outside. Since the Indian economy opened up to foreign investment almost 3 decades ago, and I've had the personal privilege of witnessing this journey, Indian lawyers and law firms have both demonstrated remarkable ability to adapt, evolve, and acclimatize. As our summit chair, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, often says, Indian lawyers are second to none. We have consistently manifested our competence to provide legal support to domestic and international companies alike of the highest quality and caliber. And today we are acknowledged as a force to reckon with by the international legal community. And I think real testimony to this, and Dr. Bhasin will bear me out, is the meteoric rise of Indian law firms, especially during the last 10 to 15 years. Having said that, there continue to be areas within Indian laws and institutions which require further consideration, deliberation, and even reform. Labor law reforms and land law reforms that Dr. Bhasin spoke about during his introductory comments deserve special attention here. Dispute resolution is another area where India's long-time dream of becoming a preferred international arbitration venue remains a far cry from reality. Today, we are indeed very privileged to have highly distinguished and experienced speakers and moderators who will lend their expertise and insights in these areas, as well as a somewhat controversial CSR policy and the new CSR amendment of 2021. Friends, it's been a pleasure addressing you. Please enjoy what promises to be a very engaging and interesting program as part of this Legal Services Summit. I'm sure crafted very meticulously by the great legal architect, Dr. Lalit Bhasin. Thank you very much.
Yes, Rohit, thank you very much for your kind words. Yes, crafted very meticulously. I know he spent a lot of time, and he's made us spend a lot of time also to see that we architect it right. With that, can I invite Mr. Maneck Davar, the chairman of the Services Export Promotion Council, to address us. Over to you, Mr. Maneck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roy. Mr. Justice Mukundakam Sharma and other distinguished panelists. It's a privilege to be part of this effort. IACC and SEPC have collaborated many times in the past, and at SEPC we do value this partnership with IACC and the work IACC is doing, not only in promoting cultural and trade ties with the US, but also as far as thought processes and all domestically is concerned. The reformation of factors of production in our labor-rich land has for long been on the cards, but not much has been achieved. India's much anticipated high growth trajectory will be guided by macroeconomic stability, and it requires concrete and determined actions that should soon begin. In the context of the mandated role of SEPC, the issue of land and labor reforms may not be much in focus for us, but we do believe its long-term implications on the overall economy. The discussions and insights today will certainly be of immense significance to all concerned. As Chairman SEPC, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight its role in the services sector and more specifically to legal services exports, which is one of the champion sectors identified by the Government of India. The country has many advantages in this sector besides low cost and good quality of services, and of course, impeccable quality of its professionals and also of legal education. There is huge potential in this sector for trade and investment, but unfortunately, this is also one of the most restricted services sectors in the world, especially in India. Legal services is a domain where localized knowledge and experience becomes very important, including knowledge of local language, tradition, culture, etc. Now, with the expansion of some predominant languages, globalization of cultures and growing international business, investment and human resource exchanges, cross-country exchanges of legal services has become a requisite and a need of the times that we are in. Thanks to technology, the mode under which most of the trade in legal services is taking place is under mode 1, which is not restricted in most of the countries. It is in the form of legal process outsourcing. India is one of the top destinations for foreign law firms to outsource the process of their business to Indian firms for services like litigation support, patent services, paralegal support, etc. India's export of legal services are already highly concentrated to the USA, which contributes more than 50% of Indian exports. However, it holds a minuscule share of 2% in the USA import basket for legal services imports in the year 2019. Clearly, there is much to be done in terms of expanding the market as far as Indian legal firms are concerned, and SEPC is playing a role in this. According to WTO, legal services imports by USA for the year 2019 were pegged at US $4.5 billion, having a year-on-year growth of almost 14%. and thus it's a very, very important market for us. Talking about the challenges, some key points. India is the world's second largest legal professional market with more than 600,000 lawyers. Removing restrictions would go a long way in promoting legal services exports, given our rich manpower resources. According to WTO Service Trade Restrictiveness Index, STRI, India is one of the most restricted markets for trade of legal services, which is the reason the legal services exports from India have been stagnant. However, human resources in the country are multiplying each year with an average growth of around 6%. As foreign law firms or foreign lawyers cannot practice the profession of law in India, either on the litigation or non-litigation side, unless they fulfill the requirement of the Advocates Act 1961 and the Bar Council of India rules, this is one of the prime reasons why Indian legal services have not been able to achieve its real potential. And I'm sure that Dr. Bhasin and the other organizations which are here are aware of this, are informed of this, and will be taking, and I think are continuously trying to see that there is a change in this. The other reason for the stagnant growth in this sector is that Indian lawyers are prohibited from advertising and marketing their work, but foreign law firms openly can market and advertise, attracting international clients. Now, this is also a very key issue, because when this was promulgated at a time when the only means of advertising would have probably been newspapers and outdoor advertising. Today, with the spread of internet and technology, it is very important that legal firms be allowed to have their own presence on the internet, so that people who come from abroad or from wherever can have an idea of the services that they can obtain. Few initiatives are being taken to open up legal services sector in India by allowing foreign lawyers to visit India, but there is still a long way to go. SEPC is gearing up to explore business opportunities for Indian legal service providers in the international arena, besides playing a crucial role in creating synergies to take up the challenges. In fact, later this year, SEPC will be holding the Global Exhibition on Services, which we did not hold last year due to COVID restrictions. SEPC will also be actively participating in the Dubai World Expo. So I would extend an invitation to legal services through Dr. Bhasin, through Mr. Prashant Kumar, to participate in SEPC's efforts. With these words, I once again thank Dr. Bhasin, I thank IACC for the initiative that they have been taking, and for always, SEPC and IACC working in a spirit of cooperation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. With your permission, Mr. Raman Roy, because the matter is pertaining to legal services, which were very rightly highlighted by Mr. Maneck E Davar, I would firstly like to correct him that it is not 600,000 lawyers, it is more than 1.1 million lawyers. India has the largest population of lawyers in the world. We have just overtaken the United States in that regard.
Wow.
And secondly, the Indian legal profession has now been for the last 4 or 5 years requesting the government, to amend the Advocates Act, which prohibits foreign lawyers from practicing in India. We as a legal profession of India, we are not opposed. We welcome healthy and good competition from our US counterparts. As a matter of fact, and Mr. Prashant Kumar and Mr. Rohit Kochhar will bear me out, we have excellent relations with the American Bar Association. And I was the founder chair, of the India Committee, which was set up specially by the American Bar Association. As a matter of fact, we are going to have joint events between the Bar Association of India, the Society of Indian Law Firms, and the American Bar Association. So we, as a profession, welcome foreign lawyers, particularly from US, to come to India, but the initiative now has to be taken by the government to amend the Advocates Act. I thought I should clarify that position. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Raman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhasin, and thank you, Mr. Davar. That just brings out the essence of what we will have in the summit of various viewpoints and, bringing out the facts. I mean, I didn't know we had more lawyers. We are number one in number of lawyers all over the world. And that is a fascinating fact. I will quote you on that, Dr. Bhasin.
Yeah.
With that, let me welcome my good friend, Michael Rosenthal, the Director of North India Office at US Embassy. Namaskar, sir. Aapki bari.
Dhanyavad, mere dost Raman ji. Dhanyavad. Thank you to everyone for the chance to participate today, particularly in this inaugural session with such distinguished speakers, including Mr. Roy, my frequent panel partner, Dr. Bhasin, and Justice Sharma. I look forward to learning from all of you as I have been already and to taking the ideas of this summit forward. I'm also grateful to Kashish and everyone at the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce's North India Council. IACC has been bringing together important stakeholders for many decades to promote trade, investment, and other connections between our two countries. But if I could just request at the outset that my remarks be considered off the record and not for attribution. And if you don't mind, to make Mr. Raman laugh, I'd like to say a few words in Hindi. आज आपके साथ होने की निमंत्रण के लिए धन्यवाद। ये मेरे लिए एक सम्मानजनक बात है। इस शिखर सम्मेलन की विषय कानूनी सेवाएं महत्वपूर्ण है। कानूनी सेवाएं भारत और अमेरिका के बीच व्यापार और निवेश में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाती हैं। वे अब अधिक महत्वपूर्ण होंगी क्योंकि हमारे देशों के बीच व्यापार बढ़ रहे हैं। भारत और अमेरिका के लोगों के बीच घनिष्ठ मित्रता है जो इन आर्थिक संबंधों का समर्थन करते हैं। मैं अब अंग्रेजी में बोलूंगा क्योंकि ये global business की भाषा है। Thank you. So why do I say the topic of legal services is so important? First, because most experts believe that legal services are vital to economic growth. They play an important role in business-to-business interactions, including in negotiating contracts. They also facilitate constructive interactions between business and government, including interpreting laws and regulations and resolving disputes. In the United States, and in the experience of US investors in other countries, a stable legal institutional framework backed by a dynamic legal services sector is a key facilitator of economic development. A place for international law firms in a country's economy helps ensure smoother flows of trade and investment. Developed legal services also help to ensure the political systems and political rights in democracies such as the United States and India, which support economic growth and basic dignities. These political systems set us apart from autocracies and provide a model to the world. As I mentioned, legal services are very important to the United States, to our economy, and one might say to the structure of our society, even if we're now number 2 in the number of lawyers in the world. Congratulations, India. In economic terms, the legal services industry in the United States generated approximately $300 billion in revenue last year, equivalent to 1.4% of the US economy. It also applies about 1 million people. That's a lot of lawyers in our smaller population, although I can't really complain as both my father and my brother are lawyers, so I'm the black sheep of the family. Second, at this moment, as India continues to make reforms, including in labor, land, and dispute resolution, and seeks to grow its economy, and as supply chains are moving around the world, legal services in India are more important than ever. In our experience, trade and investment generally flow where markets are open, where regulation is light and predictable, and where infrastructure and human capital are strong. But all of that requires feedback and adjustment to efficiently use resources, including through legal services. The United States, both our government and our private sector, seeks to be a partner, if not India's top partner in this process. We believe that two-way trade and investment holds immense benefit for both countries, given the size of our markets, the talents of our people, and the context of such close bilateral ties between our countries. At the embassy, we like to say that when it comes to business, the United States is India's best friend and most important partner. And it's certainly backed up by the trade numbers, as was mentioned earlier, as the United States is India's top trading partner in goods and services, and India is the United States' 9th largest trading partner. Let me close by making 2 additional points. First, we appreciate the efforts of the Government of India and of state governments in North India to improve the business climate, including through legal reforms and support for legal services. We similarly value the dynamic efforts of non-government individuals and institutions, including in the private and nonprofit sectors, and in their including Bar Association, in their contributions to India's development and US-India ties. We also encourage Indian firms to consider additional investments in the United States, where there are many opportunities for growth and collaboration. Second, this US interest in legal services and economic growth in India is both economic and strategic. It is strategic because we seek a strong India as the position of my government over many years, one that demonstrates the value of democratic and open societies and a partner in helping to sustain the rules-based international order, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region that we both share. I therefore look forward to the remarks of other panelists and at this summit. I wish all of them and all of you the best of luck in your efforts to strengthen legal services and the ties between the United States and India. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for your kind words. And now it is my privilege to request our chief guest, Justice Dr. Mukundakam Sharma, the former judge of the Supreme Court of India, to address all of us. Over to you, Justice Sharma.
Thank you, and good morning to all of you who are present in this inaugural session. The chairperson of the summit, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Mr. Purnachandra Rao, Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Mr. Prashant Kumar, Mr. Rohit Kochhar, Mr. Maneck E Davar, Mr. Raman Roy, Mr. Arun Karna, the distinguished participants present in this inaugural session, and ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy and delighted to be present in this Legal Services Summit organized by Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. I must thank Dr. Lalit Bhasin for giving me this opportunity and all others of IACC to be able to be present and speak to you this morning. The term legal services is of very wide connotation and could contain various facets of legal services provided and obtained. Therefore, in my opinion, the organizers rightly restricted the discussion in this seminar only to a few concepts of legal services like labor law reforms, land law reforms, dispute solutions, and corporate social responsibilities. Each one of them is critical, as said by Mr. Prashant Kumar, and definitely has relevance and requires discussions so as to be able to be performed and implemented more effectively. So far as the concept of labor law reforms is concerned, labor reform effectively means taking steps in increasing production, productivity, and employment opportunities in the economy in such a manner that the interest of the workers is not compromised. Concept of labor reform envisages skill development, training, retraining, updating knowledge base, etc. Labor laws generally are concerned with the trade union rights of the workers, industrial relationship and job security, and policies relating to wages, bonus, and other incentive schemes meant for the welfare of the workers. The subject labor falls in the concurrent list as provided in the Constitution of India, which is contained in entries 22, 23, and 24 of list 3 of the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India, providing thereby that the Indian Parliament, as also the state legislatures, have the power and jurisdiction to enact laws on these subjects. However, labor laws in this country are too many, as we not only have central enactments on the subject, but we have also state enacted labor laws. Due to extensive number of labor laws enacted in this country, numbering about 44, both central as also state enactments, problem has arisen, causing confusion and overlapping, apart from casting responsibility of onerous and burdensome compliance of the laws. You are all aware that on 15/10/1999, the Government of India set up a second National Commission of Labour to suggest rationalization of existing laws relating to labour in the organized sector and umbrella legislation for ensuring a minimum level of protection to workers in the unorganized sector. So the legislatures for the first time work up to the necessity of having some sort of protection to the workers in the unorganized sector. This is a very welcoming trend. The recommendation of the Commission was that the existing labor laws may be grouped into well-recognized functional groups relating to industrial relations, social security, safety, and welfare. The recommendations of the said National Commission was partly accepted by the central government, which takes a decision to rationalize and amalgamate different central labor enactments into 4 codes, which are enumerated already: the Code on Wages 2019, relating to wages and bonus; Industrial Relation Code 2020, which consolidates and amends laws relating to trade unions, condition of employment in industrial establishment, and investigation, and most importantly, state settlement of industrial disputes. The third code that has been enacted by the Parliament is with regard to the occupational health, safety, and working condition, giving rise to the Code of 2020. And the next code, which is enacted by the Parliament, is Code on Social Security 2020. This, as I said, provides social security with goal to extend social securities to all employees and workers, either in the organized or unorganized or any other sectors. Unfortunately, however, although the codes have been enacted and passed by the Indian Parliament, unfortunately, the rules have not been framed as yet and therefore not notified so far, thereby leaving the codes as totally non-functional and non-effective as of today. So you can see from here that the National Commission of Labour was constituted as far back as 1999. Recommendations are received. They could be implemented immediately, but unfortunately, some of the other steps are yet to be taken for notifying the rules. And I believe that this aspect of the matter should be dealt with by the panelists and the participants in the session that is going to be would be discussing this particular aspect. Next topic, which is going to be discussed in this seminar, is in respect of land reforms in India. As of today, the country is facing critical situation in relation to land use planning. In this area also, a committee under the chairmanship of late J.C. Kumarappa was appointed. The committee submitted its report recommending comprehensive agrarian reform measures. The problem being faced is regarding continuing with the land legislation and to improve the land reform legislation, and particular clarity in land records and settlement of land disputes. Land availability, although in the country remains the same, yet the demand of land of the people has grown in number over the years. Therefore, the balance has to be maintained. One very disturbing factor that is noticed, at least by me, is that the agricultural land being used for urbanization of land by constructing residential houses, and thereby agricultural land getting depleted. Besides, availability of land has also decreased due to various factors like erosion and flood, etc. Some immediate measures in this regard is of utmost necessity, and this area should definitely find place in the discussion in the technical session meant for this topic. So far as the next topic is concerned, which relates to disputes solutions. So far as the concept of dispute solution is concerned, this falls entirely within the domain of the judiciary. The word justice finds place in the preamble to the Constitution of India, but the justice what is referred to in that preamble is in relation to social, political, and economic justice. But thereafter, the Constitution provides for the system of justice delivery, and that responsibility is cast and left to the domain of the judiciary exclusively. Dispute solution is therefore the responsibility of the judiciary. So far as the right to access to justice is concerned, the same is fundamental right, and every citizen of this country and every person is to get and be provided with cheap and expeditious and inexpensive justice. Unfortunately, during the passage of time, litigation has multiplied due to various reasons, such as growth of population, because number of people approaching the court and knocking at the door of the court has increased manifold, but there is no corresponding increase in the infrastructure and trained manpower that we have working in the judiciary. The next cause could be the increase in number of laws. For example, you know that Negotiable Instrument Act came to be amended, and as a result of that amendment, thousands and millions of cases came to the court overnight and within a span of some time. So when these acts are amended or new acts are framed, there must be some sort of calculation as to how many matters could rise because of the amendments coming in. Now people have also become conscious of their rights, and therefore they are approaching the court. And there has been a number of other factors also for pendency of the cases. And compared to that, there is hardly any increase in the number of judges when we compare it with the increase in the litigation in the country. There is hardly any addition to the court complexes and other supporting facilities. Since there has been a blockade and overflowing of the dockets, it becomes necessary to find out and open a bypass to ease the traffic congestion. When the judiciary is encouraging everyone to come in for dispute solution, it has also to show the exit door to the litigants. Therefore, the government and the court management has developed a mechanism to deal with some of these areas, the foundation being Section 89 of the Code of Civil Procedure, of which you are aware of. The said mechanism provides for different remedial measures like Lok Adalat, conciliation, mediation, and arbitration. The concept of Lok Adalat has assumed significance as it has been possible to dispose of many pending litigations through this process. Unfortunately, so far conciliation is concerned, although that is a part of our enactment called the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. unfortunately, the concept of conciliation has not gathered momentum as the concept of arbitration has. The concept of conciliation, of course, is being used for disposal of the labor matters. And Mr. Bhasin would be fully aware of it as he has been dealing with such matters. Now, so far as concept of mediation is concerned, it has gained ground in India as India could see the effectiveness of this concept of mediation as used in the United States of America for early disposal of many cases. Let me tell you, and I have personal experience about it, that California experienced in the experience of California in the USA was very rewarding as the state was facing the same problem of overflowing dockets which they could contain by effectively resorting to mediation measure. So it was thought that if the problem could be contained elsewhere, why not in our country? That is how we also started to experimenting the method of mediation, which provided to us very good results. The willing stakeholders like lawyers and judges were initially trained by the experts from USA, and therefore the trainers, having acquired some expertise training, were and are able to mediate and bring litigation referred to it to a successful conclusion and resolution. In this regard, the Delhi High Court Arbitration Center, the Supreme Court Mediation Center, and many other such like centers have proved to be very effective. I am informed that some of the international contracts, as of present, instead of incorporating arbitration clause, what is being incorporated is a clause for going into mediation instead of arbitration. Mediation has proved advantageous for it is cost effective and also time saver. Fair and joint participative decision is taken in mediation, and there is a win-win situation in that context for both the parties, because no one loses so far mediation is concerned when it is brought to a successful conclusion. And then so far resolution is concerned, it not only brings to an end the concerned dispute, but all the disputes between the parties, if there be any other dispute pending between the parties, then it also has a confidentiality clause, no publicity of trade secrets in this sort of litigation. So far as the concept of arbitration is concerned, this is much resorted, remedial measures adopted by all the stakeholders. It envisages international arbitration and also domestic arbitration. The amended act also envisages a fast-track arbitration under certain conditions and when agreed to by both the parties. The promotional of institutional arbitration in India is another issue that has come to the forefront. Although some institutional arbitration centers have been set up in India, but service provided by them is not up to the mark as that of some centers around the globe. We must provide the best professional expertise and assistance, and the staff overlooking the conduct of the arbitration and providing assistance must be professionally trained, competent, and active. The institutional arbitration definitely has an advantage over ad hoc arbitration. As such, institutional arbitration provides a support from trained staff, panel of arbitrators to choose from, and supervision of forum and scrutiny of proceeding. A large number of pending matters are being disposed of regularly through arbitration as it is faster and convenient in the court process, which takes time Mediation is also gaining ground in India and has become effective. All these subjects require consideration and a threadbare discussion, which I believe would take place today. And the speakers will definitely deal with some of these subjects during the course of their deliberation, which will pave the way and contribute to an effective discussion and resolution in that regard. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Justice Sharma. Not only you have laid out the template for what we need to look at and brought it in perspective. Thank you very, very much. And we hope to live up to what you've set out for us for the rest of the day.
Yeah, Mr. Roy, with your permission, I can't resist the temptation of just adding something to what Honorable Justice Mukundakam Sharma has said. Just very briefly, it is, he has said that dispute resolution or solution falls within the domain of the judiciary. Very rightly so. But there are other stakeholders which have contributed to the notorious laws delays in the country. And that is apparent from the fact that the government is the largest litigant. More than 60% cases involve the government. Therefore, the role of judiciary does not come in there. It is a change in the mindset of the government which is required, not to take up matters in appeals and revisions and make it a question of ego if they lose anything. Then to top it, again, that is where the role of judiciary and the legislature comes in. We have too many laws. We have outdated laws. We have overlapping laws. And we have most ill-drafted laws. Therefore, what is required is, on the part of the government and the legislature, is to rationalize the existing laws and to reduce the number of laws. That will automatically reduce the litigation, because more laws you have, more litigation. It is good for the lawyers, but bad for the country. So that is one area where the government has to also change. And the profession also has a role to play by encouraging mediation. I always believe in this, that a bad settlement is better than successful litigation. That is where the professionals like lawyers and others, they have to play an important role to encourage and promote dispute solutions, not just resolution. That is why this topic chosen is dispute solutions. We have to find solutions by negotiations, by mediation, and by active participation of the legal profession in trying to achieve this. We are indeed very grateful to Honorable Justice Sharma for having highlighted the various aspects so relevant for today's summit. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Ramanji. Sorry for interruption.
No, sir. Very valid points. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhasin. And yet again, Honorable Justice Sharma, thank you. We are honored and delighted that you were able to share your thoughts with us and set out a template of what we should deliberate over the next day. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Arun Karna, the Regional Vice President of IACC NIC, who's also the Managing Director and CEO of AT&T Global Network Services India, to deliver the vote of thanks. Arun, over to you.
Thank you so much, Raman. Distinguished speakers, guests, and participants. Before I propose the vote of thanks, let me dwell a little bit on what IACC has set to achieve from the summit today. You heard earlier a glimpse of that from the other distinguished speakers that came before me. And by the way, I'm told that we now have more than 1,200 participants logged in, listening to this session and participating in this session.
1,507 right now, Arun.
I'm dated, so thank you for that. So, you know, that's just a big vote from the distinguished participants on the real relevance and strategic importance of the discussion today. So, you know, my sincere thank and gratitude to everyone involved in making this possible and generating this amount of interest. And of course, We look forward to a great day forward today. As a partner in progress, IACC has been providing always a constructive platform for crafting a national debate on different aspects of strategic issues that impact the economic growth strategies of the country, and to make India a US $5 trillion economy as quickly as possible. Legal reforms are, of course, very critical to help achieve this target and to realize Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Three legal domains that have been flagged off, as you heard from the earlier speakers, are labor reforms, land reforms, and dispute solutions. So we heard you loud and clear, Dr. Bhasin, dispute solutions. Admittedly, we have come a long way as a nation in these areas, but of course, there's a long way to go still, and hence the discussions and debate today to see how do we accelerate some of these facets. Aside from these three topics, we're also discussing the subject of CSR policy to practice and the new CSR Amendment Rule 2021, which has just come about. And the objective really is to involve more companies to emerge as corporate citizens to willingly give and be a direct connect with the communities and societies. This has also opened up additional channels for funding community development programs. That's the objective, but of course, there are nuances there. Now, hopefully we would agree that we have had a very stimulating inaugural session, thanks to all the distinguished speakers here, which has thrown open many ideas and innovative approaches. Thanks for that. There is nothing called static in business. New challenges and issues would keep cropping up from time to time. Let me assure you that IACC would continue to flag such issues and provide a platform for discussing them in an informed manner, as what would be done today also. Let me profusely thank Justice Dr. Mukundakam Sharma, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. Thank you, sir, for your insightful observations on how the legal services should gear up to address the emerging challenges, keeping the national interest at the forefront. So that's resonated very well with us. Thank you, sir. Extremely thankful to Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Director, North India Office, US Embassy, for your informative address as well. Our two countries have common shared democratic values, and we believe that we have a huge joint role to play in the emerging geopolitical landscape, particularly against the backdrop of the recently held Quad Summit. And that really is a big binder, if I may say so. And frankly, your comments in Hindi, they simply floored us. So thank you as always. Our thanks are due to our National President, Mr. Purnachandra Rao, as always, and Executive Vice President, Dr. Lalit Bhasin. Thank you so much for your visionary leadership and guidance. I would be failing in my duty if I did not express our gratitude to Mr. Prashant Kumar, President, the Bar Association of India, and Mr. Maneck E Davar, Chairman, Services Export Promotion Council, for lending their gravitas and depth of thought to the event. Mr. Prashant Kumar, your comments on the need for reforms to keep pace to ensure ongoing progress, they were extremely pertinent. Thank you for that. Mr. Maneck E Davar, you put a spotlight on the critical role of your organization in the growth of the Indian economy, and those were really enlightening. Thank you so much for those thoughts. Extremely thankful to our summit partners, Singh & Associates and Khaitan and Company. Thanks so much. Last but not the least, thanks to the esteemed panel speakers and distinguished delegates who have responded to our invitation in numbers, great numbers. Thank you. And finally, thanks to my leaders at the North India Council, Raman Roy and my good friend Rohit Kochhar, for all the inspiration and guidance. Thank you so much. And with that, back to you, Raman.
Thank you, Arun. And thank you to all of you for your comments.